Hey, Monica Fernandez with Evolution Essentials. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to safely travel internationally during COVID-19 from the United States to Europe, round trip. I'm going to talk to you about how my experience was, some tips on what to do, what not to do, and how to really keep safe and stay safe as much as possible and try to avoid getting sick. Please stay with me until the end. I have a free gift for you, so stick around. This was major, you guys. I'm going to vlog my entire trip for you. I took some video and some photos of it. I had a really long trip, and so I ended up going from mid-November to mid-December, so it was going to be a month, and I was going to Portugal from the United States, Florida, specifically Miami. And so I knew to enter Portugal, there's certain things that you need. Obviously, if you're an American citizen and you do not have dual nationality, at this time, still, when I'm making this video, you were not able to travel there. Maybe at this time when you're watching this video, you can travel there, but these tips still apply when traveling internationally. So you needed to have a dual citizenship, or some sort of employer certificate or letter to basically an authorization to enter Portugal if you did not have dual citizenship. I'm dual citizen, so I was able to go, but you needed, even though I was traveling, to see my family, you needed to take a COVID test and present it negatively within 72 hours of the flight. You have to prepare for this, you guys. So if you're flying, and I know that a lot of European countries are like this, I don't know how the rest of the world is, but in terms of Europe, you to enter, you have to have, it's not a rapid test. Rapid tests are not going to work. So forget about that. This has to be a regular test. So you really have to prepare ahead of time. So if you want more information on that, look up your state, call your doctor's office to find out. I also had to go to my doctor's office shortly before my trip. So if you want to know more about that, on how to protect yourself from COVID-19 when going to the doctor, watch this video right here. But I set up with my doctor's office the test ahead of time. You needed to make sure that you are going to get your results. That means emailed to you, something that you can print out and take with you within the 72 hours. So I was flying out on Wednesday, and I actually took the test on Monday. Actually, the testing place said, don't make flight arrangements to fly out on Sundays because we cannot guarantee the test, because usually these labs don't work on weekends or Sundays specifically. A lot of them don't work on Saturdays, so just business days. So just try to not go on Sundays. So it's an overnight trip. It's a trip that you leave here and you're going to get there the next day. So my test was on Monday and I left on Wednesday. Actually, Monday night, they sent me the test and I had, the test with me. I printed it out. I would advise you to print it out because they are going to request that. They did when I arrived there. So they lined everybody up. They had a pre-customs immigration line set up not far from the gate where you enter, way before you go into the normal immigration area, and to request for your test. And if you did not have your test with you, if you were a Portuguese national, you could take one right there. They had set up, a nurse there to set it up. So I'm going to chronicle my trip for you. This is going to be a little long because it was a long trip. So I had a 2-hour train ride to Miami Airport. So I'm going to tell you how it is to travel on a train So that was part of my journey to travel to Miami Airport.
Here we are. It's not packed. Just keep going. Try not to touch anything.
And then to travel, in an 8-hour flight, and then arriving there, and then returning. I returned at night, which meant it was past midnight. There were no trains then, so I ended up staying in a hotel. So I'm going to have tips for you on that as well. So my first tip for you is to prepare ahead with a test scheduling. You really need to set that up way in advance. And then, of course, what to carry with you and in a carry-on. So in your backpack or your purse or whatever you're carrying on the plane with you, I'm going to tell you, you need to bring sanitizer, obviously the amount that you're allowed to. I would do sanitizing wipes, gloves, masks. So if you have cloth masks, bring a few. I brought 2 with me. If you have disposable masks, bring way more than that, because they advise you to discard of them every 4 hours, and you don't want to be discarding of them in your front seat pocket or anywhere else, that if you come in contact with it, and if that mask is no good, you want to make sure that you actually dispose of it correctly in the trash. So they actually want you to dispose of it in the trash, in the bathroom, on the plane. So that's a really good advice, good tip. Every 4 hours, change your mask. And bring snacks, you guys. You know why? Because at the airport, most of the stores are closed. I found that to be true in Miami. Not so true in the Lisbon airport when I departed, but it really depends on your departure time and on your arrival time. So in terms of packing, your regular packing, if you're checking in luggage, which I did, I actually had 2 pieces of luggage, and I'm going to show you, I had some help packing. I know that you're not supposed to get help, but I had some help. Watch this. But a travel size in terms of the personal things, so that that's easier for you. For example, shampoo, shower gel, things like that, lotions. You can also get things in travel packs. Make ahead of time, because that's going to save you time in terms of packing. And the other thing I'm going to tell you to do is make sure you have good shoes, because you're going to be walking in an airport. I'm sure you know this, but you want to make sure you're comfortable. And also, don't forget your cable for your cell phone. And if you're bringing a laptop or iPad or anything like that, you want to make sure you get your chargers, a battery pack. Watch out on the type of battery packs. For example, depends on the airline. The airline that I flew, which was TAP, did not allow you to travel with battery packs at all. So you could have a secured an authorization for it, but that's just too much work. So I ended up getting a battery pack over there, and just have one there, because obviously my family's there. I could leave it there. But anyway, just as you are going through this process, really make sure that you are aware and mindful of what you are touching. I advise you to have a backpack. And the reason that I always travel with backpack is that I like to have my hands free. And this way, you're really more conscientious of what you're doing with your hands. So you're trying to avoid your face, avoid your mouth, avoid your eyes, avoid your nose. You don't want to touch your mask or anything like that. That's kind of defeating the purpose. My tip for you is have a backpack with you, so that you're kind of more balanced. If you have a purse, I mean, I've traveled with a purse before. If you're traveling, you're just going to be more on one side. And if you're carrying the same thing, if you're not balanced, it's not a good thing if you have a really long flight ahead. Another thing to do before you go is, if you have a dietary concern or some sort of restriction for your nutrition, you need to make arrangements way before you go with the airline. So I am gluten-free, and at the time of booking my ticket, I selected a gluten-free meal. And I really enjoy that with TOP because they have a really, really great meal service. And when you have when you choose a restricted meal, you get served first. That's a really great bonus. So you don't have to wait for your food. It doesn't matter where you are on the plane, you get served first. So that's really cool. The other tip that I have for you is as you are going onto your trip and you're around people, you keep social distancing as much as possible. I know sometimes it's hard, but please try and do that. I took the train and I didn't have anybody sitting next to me, and you try to block out the seats next to you in terms of selecting your flight. Also, I think with the things that they are right now, there's definitely a block of seats, so they're really keeping those flights not full. So I would say that on the way there and probably on the way back, the plane was a third full. So that means there's room to roam. And of course, there's always going to be people that are going to take advantage of that. And that happened on my flight on the way back specifically, where there are people that are taking 10 seats instead of a couple. Instead of taking an extra seat, they're just lounging, and they're just behaving like if they're home. So anyway, that's another story. But anyway, so the other thing that I want you to keep in mind is as soon as you go past security, I want you to buy water, the first available instance that you have, because a lot of the stores are closed and you don't know when you're going to have the chance to drink water. So if you're there 2 hours before your flight time, as it's an international flight, even if you're doing carry-on luggage and everything else, you want to make sure that you get some water after. And yes, it's prohibitive airport prices, you guys, but that's the price of flying these days. You have to put up with that stuff. Another tip that I have for you is if traveling is going to stress you out, I want you to bring some aids. And I'm really big on natural, non-toxic stuff for this stuff. If you've been to my channel, I'm all about wellness and essential oils. So I brought with me Serenity capsules and adaptive capsules. Those are for during the day. I packed those in my luggage because I was going to travel during the night. But you can make samples of the Serenity oil and the adaptive oil and balance. Those are really great to take with you. And if you're really, really prone to having anxious feelings, watch this video right here that I did on the top 8 essential oils for anxious feelings. That might really give you some great oils to help you with that. So another thing that I'm a huge advocate, even pre-COVID, and people know this about me that know me, is that even before the pandemic, I always did this because I traveled back and forth to Europe. I feel like I live in 2 continents, and I did this all the time. I always brought my On Guard sanitizing mist with me and some Kleenex. This is before there were On Guard wipes. Now there's On Guard wipes. And On Guard is the protective blend. So it really is great at sanitizing surfaces and your hands and everything else. And I always wipe everything when I sit down. That means when you sit down in your seat in your plane, wipe first your seatbelt, your tray really, really well, especially the tray latch, the screen. So like TAP had a screen right in front of me. So you wipe that down, gently. You don't want to, soak it. The window latch, and any surface that you think that you might touch. I did the same thing to the seat next to me because I knew I was going to use the tray next to me, obviously not the seatbelt or anything like that, but think of places that you touch and think that before this, the planes weren't really being thoroughly cleaned like that. I mean, even now, I know that when you close, I can find things in trays. Trust me, I can find trays, and I'm not trying to be a germaphobe. I'm just aware of things, and I see how people behave, and I know how they touch things. And so I was always very adamant about that. If you don't have On Guard sanitizing mist, you can make your own hand sanitizer with essential oils. And I did a video right here on that. So watch that. It's really easy, very limited ingredients, and it has alcohol, which is going to, sanitize and kill everything. Another thing that I want you to keep in mind is when you're going to the bathroom, use the toilet protectors that they have there. TAP has toilet protectors. If the airline that you fly doesn't, try to create a toilet protector. And after that, obviously wash your hands and make sure that you take your paper towel and you use that to open the latch of the door and then dispose of the paper towel in the bin without touching anything. It's not sometimes easy to do these things, but just remember that you're trying to avoid contact of what other people touch all the time, especially things that could be contaminated. If you have a disposable mask, like I said, change it every 4 hours and dispose of the old one in the bin in the bathroom. Otherwise, have a few cloth ones with you. I have two, and I sprayed some On Guard sanitizing mist on the outside of it that adds extra protection. My masks are pretty thick, so that really gives that extra added layer of protection. Another thing, if you're able to sleep on the flight, great. Like this was an overnight flight for me. Use Breathe to help with that, and also the Serenity capsules. I mean, I use Breathe already when I sleep. And if you have issues sleeping, watch this video right here on the top 5 essential oils for sleeping soundly and longer that I did. And that can help with you, if you have any issues sleeping. Also, when you're walking in the airport and you're going through escalators and those walking platforms and everything, try not to touch rails and everything like that, because you really want to be mindful of what you're coming in contact with. And if you do touch something, just sanitize right after, because you don't want to take risks that you might put your finger to your eye or something like that. You just want to be cautious. If you're staying in a hotel like I did on the way back, I actually do the same thing. I use a wipe to wipe down all the light switches, the alarm clock, the telephone if you plan on making calls. I didn't do that because I wasn't going to make any calls. The door handles, really important. And also, don't be on your bare feet. Always use socks or slippers while you're in the bedroom. And if you're in the bathroom, just make sure you have a towel on the floor, because that's just really great procedure because there's other people that stay there.
I'm on the train back to West Palm Beach from Miami. It's early, so it's the first station, so it's empty. Here we go.
And if you're enjoying this video, do me a favor, please subscribe right here, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video, and you can hang out with me every week. Another tip I have for you in terms of traveling, and this is really not COVID specific, but I don't lock my luggage anymore. I actually use these little cords that I just knot in a bow, because I've had more locks destroyed by baggage handling than you can count my luggage. I mean, it seems like I've bought so many locks, it's not even funny. Don't do that, because it's just, if they want to get into your luggage, they're going to just cut it, and they're going to just place the lock in your luggage, the broken lock, with a paper saying that they went into your thing, and that's that. You've got a broken lock and you're done. So when you're sitting waiting for your plane ride, just be mindful also where you're sitting so you're not around a lot of people. I know most people were masked when I was going from Miami to Lisbon, but I did see one person that wasn't, and she was talking on the phone the whole time, and lounging. And so I made sure that I sat really far from her. And also, one thing I noticed on the way back was that some kids did not have masks. And I'm not sure if that was because there's no rule for that, or mandatory. Maybe it's not mandatory. I don't know, but just be mindful that there's always a possibility that people are going to be responsible. So as you can see, the airports are have much less traffic and less people. Whether you're going through security, you're walking down these passageways, gates, everything has less people. It's not such a bad thing, actually, because you're not really lining up. Make sure also, if you're traveling during the day, that you have a good book to read, or you keep yourself busy, because otherwise it's a lot of hours traveling internationally. Usually it's a lot of hours. So make sure you keep busy. So when I came back, I also had some help unpacking, by the way. But anyway, so another thing that I did when I got there, because I was going to be with family, and I quarantined for a week with my brother, and I arranged to have a test, another COVID test. That's not mandatory, that was elective, but I wanted to make sure that I went to see my parents free and clear. And so I did not quarantine for the 14 days. I figured that if I caught anything, that within a week, a test would have been able to determine that. So if you are in contact with people that have a higher risk, I would suggest that you actually get tested. I would say within a week, after a week of being there. I did kind of lose a week. And even with the test, I did keep a mask around them and around people. You just want to be careful, especially if they're your loved ones. You want to make sure that you are being responsible and careful. Just assume that you have it. I think that's the whole issue with the mask wearing, is that to assume you have it. It's protecting others as opposed to protecting yourself per se. So it's kind of like that oxygen mask thing. On the plane, you put your mask first, and then you take care of others. In this case, is kind of the opposite. You're masked, so you're taking care of others. It's similar. It's a similar concept. And once you are free and clear, do be outside as much as possible. And, in the city, it's tough because everything happens with people around, and sometimes social distancing is hard. So I would just make sure that you really keep your mask on. You really don't want to be bringing anything home or with you if you are out and about. Just be mindful, especially if you are going to restaurants and other places. Be mindful and try to stay away from people as with social distancing and everything else. So I hope you got major value from this video, and please comment below if you've traveled internationally. What was your impression? I really want to know what your experience was like, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends. See you next time.